Welcome to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. I am Cammie, the Hooked Heartie, and you all know my dear friend.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah, and I'm the Hawk-eyed Heartie.
Sarah, that is a lovely addition to your decor behind you.
Oh, are you referring to this lovely butterfly?
Yes, I am referring to that lovely butterfly. Where on earth did you get that?
Well, Cammie, I will have you know it is one of a kind.
Really?
Now, the design itself is probably not, because I'm guessing it was printed or came out of a coloring book. But this exact one is one of a kind because it was colored in for me by my very best friend.
He must really love you.
I think so.
Because that looks like it was very intricately done.
I mean, she probably had to start it about 6.5 years ago when we met. And like it probably took a very long time to perfect. That's what I'm going with.
It took me a month.
It didn't. Okay. Well, it's lovely, and it uses a lot of greens, which is my favorite color. So we'll give everybody a little close up here. Isn't that lovely, everyone?
The friend I finally hugged is what I put at the top because she used to be.
That did take 6.5 years.
Yes, that did. I would always call
not
her
because I am standoffish and refused hugs, but more so just because we hadn't met.
We hadn't met in person. I always called her the best friend I've never hugged. And so now I've put the friend I finally hugged. So.
And since I haven't really drawn attention to it, I will also call attention to our Camp Hearties winners pillow.
Yep.
Award.
First place.
Shout out to Lee's Plaid Pants?
Yes, Lee's Plaid Pants.
Big shout out to them. That was it was several years, 2018.
Yeah.
Was when we won that competition as the Coal Valley Cuties.
I came up with that name. I was very proud of that.
I believe that was your name, yeah. And then I also have a lovely painting.
Now I can't remember who painted that.
This was my good friend Denise.
That's right.
For me. And so that's quite lovely. And then I also do have a cowbell. So just there's my setup. So I don't have the hat like you, so I just decorate around me.
So the closest prop, this is an accessory, but the closest prop that I have to something is a mug with hearts on it. That's about as close as
I have this heart mug as well. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have a Hearties mug, had a Hearties mug, and it broke. So I'm gonna have to place another Edify order soon. Because you can't not have Hearties gear. I mean, that's just I do have the water bottle.
Yes, I have a water bottle,
which I love. But I drink tea so much that I'm gonna need another Hearties mug or two.
This is since we've been talking about it an awful lot, this is Anne Shirley inspired herbal tea. A local
shocking that Cammie would want that. Shocking. For any of you who have ever seen anything about Cammie, you would know.
Actually, that brings me to my first point. Somebody is seriously channeling Anne of Green Gables, the continuing story, because first it was anything broken, just my pride, and now it was Madeline, and she said life is full of disappointments and opportunities, and a line from Anne of Green Gables, the continuing story, is life is full of missed opportunities. So I'm telling you, you're finding lots of watching it.
Yeah, you're finding lots of little
nuggets.
Little nuggets. I like that. That's
yeah. Good. But that's funny because it reminded me of Anne, and it reminded me of Princess Bride. when Wesley and Inigo are fighting, when they're doing their sword duel, and Wesley does that huge flip off of the rope, lands, and then picks up his sword. He lands right next to it, and Inigo goes, "Who are you?" "No one of consequence. I must know." And he says, "Get used to disappointment." So
that's kind of a loose connection, but all right, I'll give it to you.
Loose connection, but the way she said it, it reminded me of the Princess Bride. So I can find a quote from
you will find a connection to a quote to any movie you've seen. Yes, you'll find it.
It's been known to happen. Yes. So while we're there, let's talk about Madeline. What do we think of her? I really do not know.
I mean, here's the thing. In the previous episode, we definitely had a glimpse into, there could be something not so good happening. I really didn't get that vibe from her, even though there were suspicious steps she was taking, potentially. There was nothing overt. There was nothing, like, oh my goodness, this is, there was nothing as obvious, obviously, as the previous episode when she's talking on the phone and trying to go to bat for Hope Valley.
But in the preview for the coming episode, there's more suspicious activity on the telephone.
So, I mean, she's trying to buy property.
I don't know.
That could go two ways. That could be her trying to distance herself from the negative plot she's involved in and try to like switch sides almost.
So she's trying to be a double agent in a way?
Well, no, like depending upon what's going on, right? She doesn't seem to want to do anything wrong. So somebody either is forcing her to or has some dirt on her that they're using against her to make her do something for them. It doesn't appear like this is her idea or her choice because she was arguing with someone about it. So
you are not going to believe the thought that Casey had. We were discussing this. You are not going to believe the thought that she had, and I just went,
okay. So I want to hear that.
Okay. What if she's on the phone with the governor? What if she is working with the governor, who we have found out through promo pictures is played by our dear friend Mark Brandon?
Governor Balfour.
What if she is on the telephone with him or somebody who works closely with him? Because if you remember when we interviewed Mark, he said, "You'll really like me at first, and then you will not like me at all." So
yeah, when we talked to him last year, there was definitely that air of, but it didn't necessarily sound like we're gonna dislike him in the end. Hopefully it gets resolved, but we don't know that.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
See, I think if he was involved in this, that we'd know that right off the bat when we met him, and we wouldn't like him initially. But it is possible that they show us two different things going on, and then all of a sudden we find out it's connected.
Well, and this is a theory. Yeah. So when we first meet him, it probably would not come to light.
Okay, so what nefarious reason could the governor want to send this woman in and buy up property that belongs to the town?
Trying to manipulate Hope Valley into changing. Because remember, Bill said that they kept certain parcels of land as fields so that Hope Valley couldn't get too modern or too built up. So what if Governor Balfour is trying to force his hand? And
could it have to do with tourism, with the springs, and trying to build up the territories that he's governing, like into big tourist spots?
right, and maybe he's trying to take over the springs and get more money in his pocket,
or is even being bribed to like promote tourism more in some way, and wants to stay in office.
I mean, Madeline didn't come to Hope Valley until, at least what she said is, she didn't come until she heard about the Hope Springs.
Well, and even if, yeah, I mean, she obviously came afterwards, so it could be related to that in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, still just don't quite understand that she like brought her son, and like, I mean, that's just so odd to be on this mission and bring your kid.
Well, but if you've seen the really old movie from the late 80s, early 90s, Curly Sue, that's what
long time ago. Yeah.
That's what some parent figures do.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
They use their children to get in with the crowd and to look
well normal. Actually, I was season 1.
Which thing?
The first time we met Frank Hogan
with his daughter.
The not Frank Hogan.
Season 2. What? Season 2. That's why. That's why I got thrown off. I was like, in season 1, what child is fooling people in season 1?
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Nobody will notice.
Okay. Shh.
Most people won't notice because they didn't even watch season 2. Nobody remembers that but me.
Oh yeah, nobody. That was one of the good parts of season 2.
I know, right?
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time, using children to look innocent and to look official in a way, you know, look undetected.
Yeah, unsuspecting.
So let's go to that kid.
Okay.
So I found it very interesting. He doesn't stay this way, but in the episode before, he says he likes it here. There's something different about the air. I like it. I want to stay. And in this episode, I want to go home. I want to go back to my school. I'm like, dude, wait a second.
Well, at least he's being a realistic kid.
I know children change their minds at the drop of a hat.
As soon as the parent's like, I got you figured out. I know what you want. No, I want the opposite.
That was very, very realistic writing. I can't remember who wrote this episode. I don't think it was Lindsay, but very good writing, because you got the kid mentality.
Child acting dead on.
Oh man. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting that he said, I like it here. Even when the kids were kind of sloughing him off, he still said, I like it here. I like the air. It's different. And then in this episode, I want to go home. I don't like it here. I want to go back to my school. But by the end, we've got a different tune.
Yep, changing his mind again. Look at that.
Changing his mind again. I loved what Bill said to him. That was something so important. Here it is. If you want the other kids to like you, you gotta show that you like them. And so interesting that Bill was the one to say that.
Yeah.
Because Bill hasn't been acting very likable lately. Not with the tourists, anyway.
He's sure coming around.
He is. Why do you think that is?
With Madeline.
Yeah. Here's your question of the day.
I'm ready.
Is he going for Madeline, or is he going to realize that redheads are the way to go?
You know, I've been back and forth. I really loved the camaraderie with him and Molly. I don't think that they're gonna ever end up together.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think they're just gonna be like really, really great friends.
That really makes me sad, actually. I want them to.
They just don't seem to have the romantic connection. But
there's still time.
There is still time. Things can change. Totally understand that.
I mean,
here's the thing, though. I'm getting this vibe from Madeline that is so similar to AJ and so similar to times with Nora. Not crazy Nora, but when Nora seems semi-regular.
Money hungry, a crook, and messed up.
No, I'm looking in like the way they carry themselves, the way their personality kind of, again, not when she was losing her mind, but there were many episodes where she seemed semi-mentally stable, and which is how it was written. Love Christina.
Yeah, no. This is all characters.
That character was nuts.
That character. Oh, she drove me nuts. She was acting like a child, you know.
Yeah, and she had been through huge emotional trauma. So
yes, but she was still acting like a child.
Yes. I definitely feel like Bill has a type. And it almost makes me wonder if that's why Madeline was sent.
Oh, you think somebody is after Bill?
Or they know Bill's the acting mayor and that's the way to play him to get what they want from the town.
Because Madeline seems a lot more in charge and has much more, she carries herself with more authority than AJ and Nora did.
Nora for sure.
Yes.
AJ
was on the run constantly. So
well, yes, but she was very much like her own person because of that.
Her own person.
Very competent.
Yes. But Madeline
Madeline's more sophisticated and more
cool, calm, I'm in charge kind of feel.
Yeah, it's more of the quiet confidence piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the whole everything has a price. Like, I'll convince you, twirling the parasol, I'll convince you to sell this to me.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely think that the intent when she came there was to talk to the mayor. So I don't necessarily know that she knew it was Bill, but it's so odd to me that she just fits the part.
The type.
So similar. Yeah. Like, oh, how odd that she also seems to be his type.
Yeah, that's very true.
And as much as I don't think this was necessarily the goal of sending her, but it's so interesting to me that she has a son, because I just feel like that is gonna tug at Bill's. Well, it's gonna tug at his heartstrings because he lost his son.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Martin was probably somewhere in that age range, maybe a little bit younger, but it didn't sound like he was very old. But it didn't sound like he was a baby either.
When he died?
Yeah. Sounded like he
I had him in mind as an older teenager or even an adult. That's how I had him in my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't. I pictured him right around the age Jamie is.
Oh, so. Okay. Well, then that will be something interesting to see.
Well, just, I mean, if you think about it, they talked about, it having happened years prior. So
2 years.
he'd only had passed away 2 years earlier.
Pretty
Okay.
sure.
I thought it was a few more than that, but okay.
Pretty sure. I mean, I haven't rewatched the series in a little bit, so I can't say it for certain, but I think it was 2 years ago he died. Nora lost it, left Bill, and so then he said, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is interesting. But my hope is that maybe with all of this stuff with Madeline blows up, Bill he'll pull a Cammy, because he'll see what was right in front of him the whole time. That's what happened with Will and me. Everything blew up with this other guy that I thought I was in love with when he came home from a 2-year-long mission trip, and who was there right in front of me the whole time but Will, who became my husband. So that's what I'm hoping.
That's what you're hoping for.
Yeah. I'm hoping that things blow up. I'm hoping that things blow up. Maybe not necessarily in a bad way. Maybe Madeline can still be redeemed and be a good person.
Oh, well, I hope that she doesn't ruin the town. Yeah.
Yeah. But romantically, maybe he can't trust her. And so he sees what's been in front of him the whole time. This lovely fiery redhead.
Possibly. You will see.
I'm a little partial to redheads.
But no matter what, I hope that it's done in a way that he and Molly are friends either way. Like
whatever way. Yeah, I agree.
If he's interested in Madeline and that's going to potentially become a thing, then I hope that that's like totally cool with Molly. And she's like, great, good for you. I'm your friend. I'm still here. And I'm still here helping you. And not like, pining away after him.
So let's talk about the main event of this episode.
All
right. Second question of the day. First name that pops in your head of what the baby's first name should be. Just first thing.
Lucy.
Okay.
I was trying to think of any kind of old-fashioned name that isn't already on the show.
Yeah. No joke.
Like, have we had a Lucy?
No, that's it. No, Lucy.
Oh, you know what would be hilarious actually is actually if they did that, because everybody's always comparing them to Lucy and Ricky. So it'd actually be hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. That would be hysterical.
They could just like hilariously say things like, "Oh, I love Lucy." And when she's a toddler and does something, Lee could be like, "You've got some explaining to do."
I don't know. That line might be that might.
If he doesn't do the accent, then it's
do they have the rights to that line?
I don't think they have the rights to "You've got some explaining to do." That's a pretty common phrase.
That is a common phrase.
Just saying, it would be funny.
So I can't remember her name, but who is the friend in season 3 when Lee and Rosemary are about to get married, and she says, "I can't make it because I'm about to have a baby, and if it's a girl, we're going to name her Rosemary." What was her name? But that's my guess. Whatever her name is.
Penelope?
Was that it?
I feel like it was something
along that line.
More, with a lot of syllables.
Yeah. So I think that would be cool, but that would take some major delving, Yeah. So, I mean, there's always the name Lydia. That's very old-fashioned.
That is.
I'm a little partial to that name too.
You are a little. It was my great grandmother's name too. So That would be pretty.
Oh, it's my fourth great aunt. I think that's one of the places that I got it. So one of the places. I have many.
That's a good one.
Madeline. That's
I feel like that would be a little odd.
That would be a little odd.
In the same season. Well, let's see. Elizabeth's the middle name.
Which is so sweet. And I actually like the way they did that. I like it so much that it's not her first name, because that might be a little cliche, but that the middle name was easy. It's Elizabeth, and that and how much that touched her. It just that was a sweet moment. That was such a sweet moment with the four of them.
Yeah.
One more guess.
Could be something like really obscure.
Okay.
I feel like Rosemary would pick something like extremely not common.
Georgette?
Do we know any like famous old time, like who would have been her idols in theater?
Well, I mean, we're moving into the moving picture era, and the biggest silent film star that I know that everybody knew at the time is Mary Pickford. So she could do Mary Elizabeth Coulter. That's pretty.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be necessarily named after a family member, because we've already, unless they went with Patricia, which was already one of my thoughts that I said previously.
Okay.
Remember, for the female version of Patrick.
Right.
So that would be the only thing that I would think they'd have like a tie to. Obviously, Rosemary has stuff going on with her family memories, so I don't think she's gonna pick a family name there.
What about Susanna after Lee's sister?
That would be possible.
Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you usually use your nieces and nephews' names as frequently.
It depends. Especially since Rachel's so much older.
True.
So, but the other thing is, I kind of feel like we've moved on from that storyline. So
yeah, I can see the nod with Patricia just as a comment, like, oh,
yeah,
since my brother was named Patrick, we're going with Patricia, or something like that. But other than that, I think it would just be like we just found this name to be lovely. We just, this is and I don't think it'll be like a Mary. Like, I think it'll be more unique.
Flourishing. More
flourishing. Yes. I mean, Rosemary's just so, not the name, but like, she is a very unique person.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's going to be like, there's so much in a name.
Very true. Very true. Okay. So one thing I want to say about Rosemary, when she says that she's counting on Elizabeth and then makes the jab at Lee that he has a weak constitution, and so she's counting on Elizabeth because she doesn't know if Lee is going to be able to handle it. And a delicate constitution is what she called it. And then number 2, we hear Lee say to Lucas, now see, insert thought right here, if they had this scene and then after this time together, Lucas had asked Lee to be his best man, that would have kind of made a little bit more sense.
Would have made way more sense. Yeah.
Agreed. Because we haven't seen a whole lot.
We just hadn't seen a lot of
we hadn't seen them together, but
it does appear that they have quite the friendship, or he wouldn't have been hanging out with him.
No, he wouldn't have been
for
there.
His baby to be born.
Yeah. But that was a real bonding time. And I think that would have been a beautiful way you got me. I mean, I feel so much closer to you after after helping you through this. Will you help me through my special time and be my best man? But moving on. So when he says during that time, when Lee says, I have never felt this helpless, number one, Kevin's performance right there, I was going to cry. I was going to bawl right there.
We've talked before about just how I don't think you think about how brilliant Kevin is a lot, because he has a lot of the funny scenes. And then when he has those big, powerful moments, you're just that much more blown away, because you're not used to seeing him in the big, powerful moments. And then but then he has them, I don't want to say frequently, but periodically, where it
they just pop up and you don't expect them.
They're so big because of how good he is. Like they could have written that character to have an emotional scene, and with anybody else it still would have been emotional, but like the way he does it is just so perfect. And so real. So real. And so I just, he blows me away with that. That was written so well for them too, I think, in how in what their strengths are, Pascal and Kevin. You know, if that scene would have been written before they had, you know, early in the series, when they weren't as well known and people didn't know the characters so well, you know, it wouldn't have been like, this was so them.
It wouldn't have been as poignant.
And it was so perfect. So for me, the way it played out was perfect, because in that time frame, Dad wouldn't have been there. That isn't what they did back then. I mean, they didn't really even do it like 20 years ago. Like, I mean, that was still not the norm all the time.
Well,
everywhere.
40 years ago, it was still happening. 40 years ago, it was happening, but because my dad was in the room.
Well, right. I think they started to be in there, but it wasn't necessarily the norm or what everybody did.
I'm gonna have to ask my mom, because
whereas if you talk to people now, it would be abnormal for an involved father to not be there. You know, so I mean, like, it's so interesting. Like, if you look 30 years ago, it was still probably kind of up in the air. Depending upon the family, depending on the situation, depending on the hospital, all those kinds of things. But anyway, I digress. For them, it wouldn't have felt right for him to not have been there.
No,
it just wouldn't have. And they made it in a way so that it made perfect sense why he was. They still questioned it, because they're like, is this what we should do? Yes, it's absolutely what we should do.
Well, and the big juxtaposition for me was Lee has a delicate constitution. Lee says, I've never felt this hopeless. Oh gosh, this was the best scene in the entire episode.
Oh, absolutely. When he
walks in, and you can literally feel the change in Rosemary. It's almost instant. Lee is no longer helpless or hopeless. Because he is the one who calms her. He is the one who gets it to happen.
And he doesn't
he doesn't show a delicate constitution at all.
Even though I'm sure he felt it inside. You know, in those moments, you rise to the occasion when you can tell that is what has to happen. And that's what will happen as a parent as well. When your child needs you, that might not be what you want to do, is deal with blood or
but you rise
dirty diapers, whatever. Like, you rise to what is needed of you when it's that important to you.
And then all he says to her is how much he loves her. And he's the one that gets her to breathe. And it was almost a full circle moment for me, because he started out as the stabilizing force for Rosemary. She was wild, she was off the handle, she was a flirt, she was this and that and the other. And he grounded her. He pulled her back to earth. He let her go just enough to be her, but he kept her on the ground. And that was proof of the force that he has been in her life. He's the one who has been the stabilization. He's the one she could always count on. Just all of these things that he has been in her life were all brought together in that one moment. And it was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. He's her rock.
He's her rock. That's it. He's her rock. And that just, it all came together so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I mean, when she says, I need Lee, once again, that just shows the full circle, because she's always needed Lee.
Yeah.
Even when she didn't think she did, she always needed him.
Yeah.
Can we say driving lessons? Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, we're a little misty-eyed over here. Let's
Well, who didn't expect that with baby episode?
Oh, I know.
I also want to say, I actually, like, I was disappointed in the moment that we didn't find out the baby name. I actually really like that we didn't find out the baby name. It makes it more special to be like, oh, we got the baby episode, and then we'll get a name episode. Like,
I think it's great. It gives a cliffhanger without doing this,
Yeah, exactly. That's a fun cliffhanger.
That's a fun cliffhanger. Yes, I really like it.
I want to know, but I'm okay not knowing. It's not gonna keep me up at night.
Right. Okay, shall we
unlikely in Rosemary, who will be kept up all night for the next
they will be kept up quite a bit.
Several years.
They'll be up a lot at night lately.
Yes. All right, in fact, there is a sneak peek. I don't know if you saw the sneak peek.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
There is a sneak peek of Elizabeth over talking to Rosemary, and she's exhausted, and Lee's taking a nap because he had the night shift and she got to sleep, but now she's tired, and Elizabeth is like, oh, I'll watch her. You go join Lee, go sleep. And she's like, no, I can't, It's very sweet. It's very, very sweet.
So let's move to another father. Oh gosh. I'm a mess now. First we talk about Lee, and now we're going to talk about Jack. Oh man, because oh my gosh, those scenes.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know where to start with that one. That was, I love how, I know this is a dangerous topic to get into. I love how they have written the grief of Jack over the last several years. There's some little bits in there with the whole triangle that weren't perfect, but in general, the way that they have not shied away from talking about it.
She has not forgotten about him.
They still mention him, or the fact that he had a dad, or the fact that there was his dad was a Mountie. Like, it has come up periodically in very tiny ways to acknowledge that it's not forgotten. You never forget your loved ones who are gone. They're always a part of you. There's still pictures of him around. They don't focus on them, but you can see them,
that they're there
periodically around the house when they're doing things. it's casually mentioned frequently.
Mm-hmm.
It's never dwelled on too much. It's never an overpoweringly, we can't handle this, since they first dealt with it when he passed away. They haven't gone back to an extremely horrible, negative message.
Right.
But they go deeper, rarely, but enough that it's realistic.
Yeah.
Having an actual episode where this is a big deal. Jack's asking questions. Elizabeth doesn't know what to do. Lucas doesn't know what to do. They both do their best, and then they discuss it like normal grown-up people who are not playing games.
Yes.
Because that could have been awkward if it was like, I don't know if I should tell him. I don't know if I should tell her this happened.
Yeah.
It's so normal for this to happen. And
especially when you have a 4-year-old who wants to know what's going on.
And I love the way it was like, how naturally it was brought up.
Yes.
It wasn't just random. There are shows where these things just come out of the blue because they want to address the topic.
And it comes up in conversation because the script says so, not because it's organically
and it doesn't
happens.
make sense. And this was so normal to be like, they're talking about Lee and Rosemary having a baby. It's like, Uncle's gonna be a daddy?
Where's
Wait a
my
minute.
daddy?
Yeah. Like, because he knows.
Yeah, he knows daddy's in heaven.
He knows daddy's in heaven. He sees his picture. He is talked about. He's probably not talked about frequently, but he's talked about. And she definitely does, because she said, remember we talked about how daddy's in heaven. So
I really like, I'm just going to interject really quickly. I really love that. Remember how we talked about. She's not shying away from these topics with Lee and Rosemary. Remember how we talked about their baby. Remember how we talked about daddy is in heaven. Remember how it just, I love that it's proof that it has been spoken about. It's not shied away from.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's key. It is interesting that when she and Lucas talked about it, that she specifically said the opposite. Like, I haven't been talking to you about him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably very natural too, because you don't want to insult your current partner.
Yeah. And you don't want him to think that he doesn't measure up somehow.
Right.
So
and you also just don't want to be a downer. I mean, that, like, how do you bring it up if you're like in a happy moment? It's not like, oh, well, yeah, Jack used to do that.
And you also don't want to bring up traumatic experiences in a new relationship. I mean, it's not a new relationship, but you know what I mean.
It's not that he didn't know. She's definitely not hidden things from him, but she has shied away from talking about the day-to-day things, which does make sense.
Yeah, you don't want to keep reliving that trauma over and over when you're trying to move on and start a new life with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I also love that he's like, but you can.
Yeah.
I expect that he's always a part of your life and always a part of little Jack's life.
Jack is his father. That was a great line. Jack is his father. And that's so awesome.
What I'll even go back to the proposal. He didn't say, let me be his father. He said, allow me to be a
father to your son.
Okay. So he's always approached this from I will also be there for him.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that he had an amazing father.
Well, and when he said, there's no such thing in life, perfection. There's no such thing in life. Oh, I spoke too soon. Maybe there's one or two. I mean, he doesn't forget him. He does not forget little Jack, which is very sweet, because a man like Lucas, and this is the man I thought he was, which is one of the reasons why I was Team Nathan, because Lucas seemed too stuffy. Lucas
He really did. Yeah.
Too much of a businessman, and he would give the kid a cookie every once in a while, but the real stuff is left up to the grown-ups, and you're just the child from the previous marriage. And they haven't, I mean, I think he was distant because he was written that way, and because he was
but if you're gonna play it from a character, if you're gonna look at it from a character standpoint,
yeah,
forget that it's a TV show. It is extremely plausible that a person in that situation who had never been in a serious relationship, especially with anybody with children,
only child,
he was an only child. That story about how he was expected to go to bed and not come out again until morning,
awful.
like come on, Terrell. I know it's not you, Terrell, but like, oh my gosh, Mom. Like, I really like her, but I liked her a lot less after hearing that. And
it wasn't her.
I know. Well, no, the character. I'm saying I really liked the character of the mom. She was not perfect. Okay. She was a little bit judgmental, but she, you know, I wanted to get behind her and just be like, oh, she's just kind of an uptight person. But like hearing that, you're like, oh goodness, what you really really kind of messed your son up a little bit here.
Yeah.
But so I mean, like growing up in that type of household, the way that he was raised, and then not having had any much experience in relationships that we know of, and not being around other children, and not, you know, and he went to boarding schools, I believe.
Yeah.
Which were probably all boys, and like he just didn't probably have much experience with that kind of thing. Yeah. And then he meets Elizabeth, and even though he very much likes her, it's very clear to him that she's not ready for anything immediately when he first meets her, and she has a baby and all of these factors. So I mean, everyone in the town was pretty standoffish to him, and he didn't know anybody, and he's just trying to run a business. And then he had all that other stuff going on with Jeanette and
all of it.
There was just so much. Like, I can see him being very stuffy and not really opening up to people. And
he's a Darcy. He's a Fitzwilliam Darcy.
Over time, he became friends with people. He opened up. He's gone into other business ventures in the town. He's become more comfortable in the town. In addition to resolving some of the legal stuff going on, and also advancing in the relationship with Elizabeth. So it does make sense that you would start to see him soften, start to see him open up, start to see him embracing a more casual lifestyle.
Yeah.
And becoming more comfortable in the town, being more of a frontiersman than he had previously been, because he hadn't ever won.
Yeah, he had never had the chance.
In this, just as Elizabeth did when she first moved, she was a big city girl and had to kind of learn the ropes of living in a town like this.
Yeah. And you know, there was a lot of speculation of what the conversation about Daddy was going to be with Lucas and Little Jack. I thought it was handled perfectly. I thought that scene was very well written, because he sees the object, he sees the hat,
and he immediately called attention to it.
And found the common ground. Oh, is that your daddy's hat? And then Little Jack obviously opens up his curiosity. Oh, he said, Daddy, did you know my daddy? And I thought Lucas did a really good job with saying, no, I didn't know your daddy, but he didn't leave it at that. He could have left, no, I didn't, move on. But no, it was, no, I didn't. but I do know that he was a really great man. I thought that was really, really respectful.
Yeah.
And I don't know who created this reel, but Casey sent me a reel and I wanted to sob.
Oh no.
It was Elizabeth talking to little Jack, saying that his daddy is always in his heart. And then it showed Jack, Mountie Jack, telling Cody that his parents would always be in his heart. And I just went, oh my gosh.
Oh, I didn't make that connection, but oh.
It's the same.
It's the second you said that, I can picture both scenes side by side.
Yeah. It's the same conversation.
That was pretty brilliant, actually.
Yeah,
and I did look it
brilliant.
up. I did look it up, and it was Elizabeth Stewart that wrote this episode.
It was Elizabeth Stewart, and she's been around for a while, so yeah.
She probably could have easily pulled that connection.
Yeah, I don't know who created that reel, so if you're listening, you got me. You got me really good. I'm gonna send it to Sarah tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see that one.
But I was trying so hard.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I would say is it was a little confusing that he seemed to be like, I had a hard time getting him to sleep because he wouldn't take off the Mountie hat. Like, okay, so let him sleep in the Mountie hat. Like, that's what 4-year-olds do. What? But I mean, like, you know, just have it can be there. You don't need to like pry it off his head.
Well, but this is Lucas we're talking about, so he
still has
he can go to bed with a Mountie hat on.
He will let you have ice cream for lunch, but he will not let you have bed.
Maybe it was causing a problem. You know, he wanted to sleep with it on, but then his head kept hitting the pillow.
There you go. Okay, that's more. So that makes more sense.
That was the problem. I don't know. So let's move to the other Mountie in this show, because
that was beautiful. I think it's a great example of I'm at least referring to the conversation that Elizabeth had with Nathan on the steps. It's a great example of how the town comes together for each other.
Yeah.
There's always someone that's not necessarily in a similar situation as you, but someone who can give you advice. Like, that's literally what happens in every episode. Somebody finds somebody
to give advice to.
And it just kind of always happens somehow. And I didn't even, like, in my head, I was just making the connection that they're both single parents, but then it was like, oh, whose child had a parent die also? Like, it wasn't like making that connection until she started asking the very specific questions about it. And I was like, oh yeah, man, this is like the perfect opportunity for them to connect about something and really share a common experience.
What I really liked about this episode is in the last 3 episodes of this season, Nathan has been very, how do I put this? He's been on very unstable ground. And so he has, done a lot of, he's done a lot of worrying. He's done a lot of things that have made him look silly, like Scout chasing after the squirrel and bending the wagon wheel. And yeah. So it made him look very off balance. And this episode, he seemed balanced, grounded, very intelligently handling the situation.
Yeah.
He caught the bandit, which I loved. I loved that he figured it out and caught him.
I loved it too. And I felt like that was perfect that he did it in that moment, and like the way it came together so that he could really feel like he's like, aha.
And then So he plays the stern law enforcement officer, and then he's the hero and says, we believe in second chances. And can I just say, I'm just going to do a shout out. Mrs. Yost and I have decided to let you work here. I'm like, oh, I love hearing that. It was so cute. Plus the double stare.
The little, yeah, I love that at the end of that scene. Because also, you know, that just tickled Ned to play that little part.
To play the stern one.
Because he's just so fun. He really is.
He's such a teddy bear. I mean, when he was saying, excuse me, and Nathan goes, clear up. People like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ned was hilarious in that scene too. I loved Ned in that scene too.
But
like, I'm gonna help, but I don't know what to do.
Rothgar, he's a genius. He's fabulous. But yes, I really loved that Nathan got a chance to be he got to be a real hero in both ways. Mm-hmm. You know, he got to be the compassionate one, and he got to lay down the law. He got to be the detective and figure things out. I really like that.
Yeah.
I really
but I
like
also just think that he was off his game before because of all of the turmoil going on within him right now.
Yeah, which I totally agree with, but yeah. I just don't like
it. Made sense, is all I'm saying. It did make
sense. I just don't like it.
And I'm hopeful that with this turn, that he's feeling more confident and he's gonna push through those feelings too.
Yeah.
Get some resolution on that end as well.
Yeah, I'm really
soon. We want some resolution on that soon.
Please. Please. I want to know what happened.
I want to know what happened.
Remember that video that Casey took of us watching the episode together, and you say to me, what happened? Like, but I'm going to sum up Nathan's part in this. They'll let you know what they're ready for.
Yep.
Because that's kind of everything he was dealing with, that he knew what the person was ready for at the moment. So that's kind of his theme song for
this episode. Yeah.
This episode. That and you'd be surprised how many innocent people I find climbing out of windows. You know, that one too.
That was a pretty good line.
That was a pretty good line.
I love how he just knew and went back there too.
Like that's what I'm talking about.
He's such a good Mountie.
He's a good Mountie, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of that. And so I loved being able to see him being a good Mountie, being a smart Mountie, because that was something we saw Jack do all the time. And I really like that we're getting to see it.
It does ebb and flow a little bit, just depending on the storyline. But yeah, it was great to see that.
I really enjoyed it.
I knew that was him, right? Like I knew that was the Bandit.
Oh, of course you did.
From the first moment. Like it was, I had it. But I forgot Scout was wearing the thing. So when he looked down at Scout,
I forgot that.
I thought he was looking at Scout like, oh, that's why he's looking at you like
he's reacting. Yeah.
Scout's a good Mountie dog, actually. Okay. But he was just looking up. No, I think
he was doing both. No, I think you're onto something. Yeah, because Scout's barking and getting all excited and you know,
because he got excited at the beginning. That was the whole the first interaction.
Yeah, because I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Because Scout knew that was him.
Scout knew that he smelled him. He smelled him.
Maybe he won't be sent back after all.
That is one question I have. How much of a part is this kid going? Because we don't even We don't know.
Oh no, I meant Scout. I meant Scout. He's not going to try to get rid of Scout.
I was talking about
the kid. Scout now as a mountain dog because now he's proven himself.
Oh yeah, no, he's in for keepsies. He's in for keepsies. But no, I'm curious how long they're going to keep the kid around. We don't even know his name yet. They never said it.
Oh, I totally thought they did. Okay.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So I think it would be cool to have him be there at least for the rest of the season to kind of establish him as a townsperson.
Yeah.
So there is, since we're doing so many callbacks, there's another callback from season 5, and it is the exact line.
Ooh. Okay.
This is really happening.
Well, I mean, that's a fair line to use in a situation like that, I think.
It is, but I think it's funny because Elizabeth said it when she and Jack got married, and I said it when we covered the season premiere because it was our first time doing it together. So I quoted the line saying, "Here, I'm going to quote One Calls the Heart. This is really happening." And then Lee says it in this episode. So the way that tracked was just fun.
Definitely fun. According to IMDb, the character's name is Harry.
Nope, we never heard it.
So
yeah, we never heard that. So I wonder if they're going to formally introduce him somehow.
This currently is only saying 2 episodes, which I feel like he was already in.
Well,
if it was in fact him,
but that no, I'm almost certain it was because same eyes. But that's also the only episodes that have aired. I don't think they put on episodes that haven't aired. So
actually, wait a minute. Did I do this backwards?
I don't know. Did you?
No, I didn't. No, it was just interesting because it says Harry and then it says Bandit. So that must be just because in one episode it was just Bandit, probably.
Mm-hmm. All right. So any final thoughts?
I want more baby.
You want more baby?
I just want to see all the cute baby scenes. Next episode.
The little smile in the preview for this coming one. That little smile with her sleeping. Oh. My final thought: the sandwich.
Oh, poor Bill. He's so hungry.
He's not getting a chance to eat that sandwich, but
nobody wants him to eat that sandwich.
I loved that it was always mid-bite. And then, no, I'm not busy. And he would kind of look down at it. It was the look was so subtle, but it was so comedic. Good job, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, the poor sandwich.
It was probably all dry and tough by the time he finally got to it. All right, Hearties. Well, we better be off. But we hope that you have enjoyed this chat as much as we have. We did a lot of reminiscing and a lot of teary-eyed nostalgia. But we shall see you next time. And let's hope that we find out what the baby's name is in the next episode. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.